Today we're going to go over what might be the best bait for winter fishing. Hi there, welcome to the Bass Fishing Life. I'm your host, Steve Rogers. Hey, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and punch that notification bell. Thank you so much. Well, today I want to talk about what many people believe might just be the best bait for finding and catching bass in the wintertime. And that is a small swim bait. Okay, this right here is just a small 3.5-inch version, just a paddle tail. It is ribbed, it's the Rage Swimmer. And on here I have rigged up just a small 8-ounce round ball jig head with just an exposed hook. In the wintertime, I like to make sure that I can get that hook through as little or no plastic as possible, because oftentimes the hook sets, first of all, the bite is just going to feel like some weight. You're just going to get some weight on there, and then the hook set is just going to be a crank it down, wind it down, and then just load it up, just a side sweep and load it up. So if I can eliminate all of that plastic getting in the way of the hook set, that is what I will do, and that is why I like to use just a regular round ball jig head. Now, a lot of you probably remember back in the day, I say that a lot, back in the day, that a single tail grub in white was probably the #1 go-to winter bait. This here is essentially the same thing. Now the grub obviously is a little bit smaller, and the single tail grub still works really well, but don't let size completely determine what type of fish you're going to catch or what type of bait you should use. I like to use this size here, but go ahead and put on the 5-inch. That is fine as well. Let the bite, let the fish determine what you are going to do on that particular day. Now, the last video we had talked specifically about finding fish in the wintertime, where to find them, and I went over 3 different locations to check on your home lake, river, reservoir, whatever it might be. I'll put that link down in the description as well as up here in the card, so if you have not seen it, you can check it out. Now, when I was going out to film on that particular day, I ran across a hump right in the middle of a channel, which is one of the things we talk about in that video, where it was all just bottomed out like a bowl, and right in the middle of that channel at 40 feet, there's a small little hump that came up to about 32 feet, maybe topped off at 30, and there were fish marking all over it. Now, in that situation, an 8-ounce jig head is probably not going to be the best choice. This particular bait and jig head, when I counted down to see how fast it sinks, was about 1 foot to 18 inches in 1 second. So I'm going to need to count this thing down about 20 to 25 seconds to get it all the way down there to the bottom. So probably a 1/4 ounce would be a much better choice in this situation. If we've got a little bit of wind, I might even go to a 3/8 ounce. But make sure that you have the right weight for the proper depth. Now the key is, once I cast this out, and I know I'm just in my yard here, but I will go ahead and cast that out. So boom, I make that cast. I'm going to let that bait go down on a slack line, and I'm going to be counting it as I go. So 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. And you need to get in the practice of counting it, because sometimes those fish are going to be suspended up off the bottom. And if you're marking them on your graph 5 or 6 feet off of the bottom, you're going to want to fish that bait just above them, as close as you can get. You don't want to put it below them, and you don't want to be way above them. So that's why you're understanding how quickly your bait sinks is real critical to being successful when the bite is already tough. So now in this situation, I'm going to let it go all the way, and because my fish were marking on the bottom, right there, tight to the bottom, I'm going to count it down, and then if it hits bottom, great. If I'm more confident, if the fish are right on the bottom, and once it gets there, I'm going to go ahead and gauge the bail, boom, just give it a little pop. Pew, just pop that lure right up off the bottom just to get that tail going, and then I'm going to just retrieve it nice and slow. I'm going to retrieve the lure as slow as I can while still feeling the action of the bait. Okay, so if I'm going too slow, I'm not going to feel anything. That rod tip's not going to vibrate whatsoever. The bait's just going to kind of glide across the bottom. I want to reel it quick enough to make sure I have imparted action on that tail. Now, as I'm coming back to the boat and I start to feel that lure come up, I'll go ahead and release the bail, let it sink back down so I can get a few more feet out of my retrieve. Now, one of the key things to do, like if I'm fishing specifically this offshore hump, the best way to make sure that my lure is engaged with it and contacted with the target area is I want to cast way past it. I mean, way past it. And then go ahead and bring that lure to it. So now I'm going to go ahead and be bringing that back, and if I feel a little bit of weight, it's just going to be a simple reel it down and a side sweep hook set. And as long as you've got a nice, good, open hook jig head, you're going to be okay. That fish is going to hook up. Now, my opinion personally, I said here at the beginning what might just be the best winter fishing bait. I don't know if it's the best one out there, my own opinion, but I will say this, it's pretty darn good. And if this is the only thing that you throw in the wintertime, you will catch fish, you will have success. Now, you need to realize that often for winter fishing, we do the same thing with our retrieve and presentations as we do in the warmer months, and that's just not going to work. It's not going to cut it. You know, we all have our favorite lures and techniques, and we're pitching that jig or throwing that glide bait, whatever we might do, and we often carry over that same presentation into the cold water months. That's not going to work. We've got to slow it down. And this is another reason I really like natural colors in the wintertime. One, the water tends to clear up, okay, especially in lakes because you don't have all the boaters out there and skiing and wave runners going on. So the sediment tends to settle out. So the water is much clearer than it is earlier in the year. And with a natural color, those fish are going to get a super good look at it because it's not moving as quickly. And those natural colors, I think, are just going to fool those fish more often than not. So when in doubt in winter fishing, I always go natural colors. If I'm just not real confident or I'm a new lake, new body of water, I'm always going with a natural color. You cannot go wrong that way. And then make some alterations and slight changes from there. But make sure that you alter your presentation where it's much slower than you would earlier in the year. Absolutely critical to try to hit those 3 places that I talked about in the video in last week. So make sure you check that video out and keep the hook simple. An open round ball head is going to be great. I like the round ball because if you have some rocky structure that you're coming through, I feel that the round ball does a better job than the sloped, angled, slanted darter type of a head. Sometimes those heads will get wedged into the cracks and don't come out as easily, so I'm a big fan of just a regular round ball jig head. Make sure you got a couple different sizes with you. 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce, 3/8 of an ounce, and depending on the lake or river you're fishing, or maybe some heavier current, you're going to want maybe even clear up to a 1/2 ounce. But I find that the 1/8, 1/4, and 3/8 do just about all of the heavy lifting for me in the winter time. So I hope that this little video gives you maybe some confidence in fishing a small swim bait this time of year. Keep the rigging very simple, but the key is use those 3 locations that we talked about. Hey, if you have any comments, make sure that you drop them down below, or any questions, and don't forget to go out and encourage somebody today. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.